Hello, and welcome back to Sawdog Woodworking. Today, we're going to be building one of these little libraries. You may have seen these in your neighborhood. People will, put these out and you'll have a, take a book, leave a book sort of thing. This is for a friend, a really good friend of mine, Phil. He's a librarian, gets to teach a lot of kids the importance of reading and hopefully inspire them. When I was a teacher, I was asked by one of my students, what is the most influential book I ever read? I really had to think about it because I've read hundreds of books. Now, I thought about it and I came up with this, The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. Why is this influential? At the time, I was 13 years old and I got this as a birthday present from my Aunt Linda. She was an avid Stephen King fan. And I went, oh yay, a book. But I wasn't much of a reader. In fact, I hated reading and my grades were reflecting it. In my defense, I was being forced to read all the classics. I'm sorry, but Catcher in the Rye sucks. And don't even get me started on Grapes of Wrath. So I didn't want to read. My parents gave me an ultimatum and said I had to bring my reading grade up. So picked the first book that was in nearby and I read it and I was hooked. After this, it was the Tommyknockers, the Stephen King collection. From there, I branched out to more authors. This is the most influential book out of the hundreds upon hundreds I've read because this got me to want to read hundreds of books. These little libraries maybe can do the same for other people. All sorts of different genres and classics and adventures being put in these, maybe for people that can't even afford books, or books take up a lot of room. We've got a digital age now where you can get it all on a Kindle. There is something about having a library, but man, in your home, I mean, not the public one. But my God, they take up a lot of room. I just went through a lot of my books and we had to kind of sift through. I'm seeding this with some of them. It's nice to be able to grab a book, read it, put it back, maybe take another one and inspire other people to do it. So today, I'm going to show you how to build one of these for your own yard, your neighborhood, whoever. It was a fun build. I can't wait for my friend Phil to see it, and I can't wait to see what kind of just use it's going to get. So why don't we get started? Come on. Alrighty, this is your summer reading list of materials to buy. And these are the chapters, or your cut list. Like every project, we've got to break down these materials into more usable pieces. So I will very delicately and awkwardly get this piece of plywood up onto my workbench for cutting. Yeah, it's going smoothly, as you can see. The arm brace, I don't have a great story for that. I didn't rescue a busload of nuns or anything, and my friend suggested that I was a little too enthusiastic with my sexy alone time, but not that either. I'm just getting old and wearing out. Anywho, I'm going to use my track saw to break down this plywood. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it, but you can use a regular skill saw and some straight edges as well. I'm fortunate enough to have one. So once all this is broken down into smaller pieces, yeah, great camera work there. These are the pieces all broken down. To start, I'm going to make the gable end of the roof. So I'm measuring to the center of this piece, and then from the center to the edge, I'm going to draw a line, and on the other side, draw another line. This is really just a fancy way of saying, I'm going to cut a triangle. Get both edges cut off. These are 45 degrees. See? Triangle. Now I'm going to use my pocket hole jig and drill a few pocket holes. Exciting so far, huh? All right, I made a little jig or a story stick. This is measuring in 1/4 of an inch so that when I drill my pilot holes, I'll be able to hit the center of the 1/2 inch material that I'm using. So this just makes it so all my lines will be straight and I don't miss anything. The side panels are going to get holes drilled on the top, the bottom, and the back edge, not the front. And the back of the box will be getting holes on the top and the bottom. And with all our holes drilled, we start assembling the cabinet. I am using 1¼ inch screws as well as waterproof glue to do this. I'm not going to show all the glue ups Just assume that if something's getting joined together, it got glued. And as I said, I'm using deck screws. Here are the triangles that we cut earlier. I'm going to put those in with pocket hole screws, and it overhangs about an inch on either side. This is going to allow for the trim piece that's going to go underneath it later on. And we'll do the same for both sides. This cross brace is not in the materials list. It was an afterthought, but I felt it needed it. For the roof deck, I'm going to use my table saw to cut 45-degree angles at both ends. I give about a 2-inch overhang on the front, and I think it's about 1.5 inches on the back, roughly. I just wanted a little bit more of an overhang over the door than the back side. Once I have all those lined up, I'm going to take my pencil and mark where the roof touches the cabinet or the gable ends that we made. This is going to help me figure out where my screws need to go to hold this roof deck to the top. Once I have that figured out, I drill my holes, but I don't actually countersink these. I'll go through where my lines are just to the side of my lines, and then after that I'll flip it around and then countersink them. Just help me line it up a little easier. Just like so. And with glue on all the edges, I get it lined up and then screwed in place. And now we have a completed base. Those clamps that are on the front, the plywood had delaminated a little bit, so that I just had to re-glue it. From there, I want to break down all of my 1x6s and start getting them ready for trim. These 1x6 deck boards have kind of a rounded edge. In order to sharpen that up and make it square, I just take about 1/8 inch off the edge. Then I flip that around, and I'll use that edge to rip all the rest of my pieces, my 1 inch, my 1.25 inch, and my 1.5 inch. Once all the widths are cut, I'll take it back over to my miter saw and I'll cut everything to length. Then I'm using 1-inch nails to put it all together, also with a lot of glue. The face frame for the front and the back is the same, and both sides are the same as well. With the roof edge, I've cut a 45, and that is going to glue to the 45 that I made on the plywood decking, and I'm putting that in with 2-inch screws and glue. This helps protect the plywood edges so they don't delaminate, meaning that the glue will degrade and start separating. This just protects all that, and it makes it look nice. For the shelf, I have a 1/2 inch shelf, so I'm going to set a gauge for 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to set my table saw blade to that 1/2 inch, because what we are going to do is we are going to create a rabbet. If that was a little fast or didn't make sense, it should look like this if you're looking at it from the end. This dresses up the front of the plywood, and it'll help keep it from sagging and bowing in the middle, especially with the weight of the books. With a little bit of glue and a couple of nails, it is all set. I'm going to add a couple of rails to the side. This will give me something to screw into and add a little bit of extra support. As I said, I don't know how many books are going to be put on this, so I'm going to make sure it's nice and sturdy. The shelf gets centered into our cabinet opening. The shelf itself will get screwed from the side. Once the shingles are on, you won't see the screws, but I have countersunk them so that they don't affect the lay of the shingles. Speaking of shingles, let's get started. We'll start with the roof. I'm giving a 1/4 inch overhang on the bottom, and then on the front it gets a 1/2 inch overhang. On the back, they actually sit flush to the trim pieces. To attach the shingles, I'm using 1/2 inch staples. I'll just line up the rest of the shingles with that first one. The back shingle stays flush with the trim on the back. There is no overhang. I'm using a 5-inch reveal, meaning that from the bottom of one shingle to the bottom of the next is 5 inches. And I've created this little story stick just to make sure that all my staples stay above where that next shingle will go, so they'll be hidden. And it also makes it easier to space these out without having to constantly pull out a tape measure. And it's just a lather, rinse, repeat till you get to the top. I'm letting these just overhang, and I will cut them flush with the roof ridge using just a little pole saw. And to cover up the top of the shingles, I've made this little ridge cap. It's just two pieces that are 45 degree together to make a 90, and it sits right on top. A little bit of glue, and I'm going to hit it with some nails as well. Shingling the sides and the back pretty much is the same as doing the top. There's a couple little finesses to do. For example, cutting a shingle. What I'm doing here is I made a mark at the top and the bottom where I wanted to cut it. I'm going to put a scrap wood backer so I don't wreck my knife or anything that I'm cutting on. I'm going to line up my straight edge on those marks, and with a nice new blade, I'm just going to run my knife down there a few times. This cuts into the wood. It's cedar, so it's soft. It scores it, and then you can just pick it up and snap it along that line. And that should fit right in place. Oh, look at that. I am good. And we just keep moving along like that all the way up. For all the shingles, I'm keeping a 5-inch reveal. And I'll use my story stick to get the height right. Then I'll use it to make sure my staples are going to stay above the next shingle. Just like so. Now it works until the shingles become too tall to get underneath the roof line. So I'm going to make a line, then I'm going to take my shingle, I'm going to flip it around so the thick side is up. I'm going to go back to my mark that I had just made, the 5 inches up, and then I'm going to make sure I have enough shingles to go across that line, cut them all, and then I will nail them in place. And once I get to the top, you can see those are shorter. Once I get to the top, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to have a small little sliver. It's only about a 2-inch shingle at the very top. Same deal though, I've flipped it around so the thick side is up. I'll make a mark. I cut them all on my miter saw. Now for these, because there's less material, I'm going to add glue, and then I'm going to switch over to my finish nailer. And this will just hide the nails a little bit better. I'm using 1-inch finish nails on this. And I repeat this process all the way around. With our little library built, all we need now is a door. I'm using a shaker style and rail router bit in order to put this together. The middle rail, got to make sure it's going the right way. The middle rail gets run through twice, one on either side. The rest of the stiles and rails will only get run through on one side, and you'll see why as we assemble it. And just in case you're like, dude, what's a stile? What's a rail? Here you go. So we're going to run this long piece through, and then I'll cut this down to all of its lengths. I'll give you a little reveal to show you what I'm talking about. Now to do the ends, it really helps to have this jig. It holds the piece in place, doesn't knock it out, keeps your fingers safe. I know I'm using a few specialty tools in this door. You can just use some pocket screws to put a door together, or make some mortise and tenon. I'm going to link that in the video description. I did make a mortise and tenon jig if you want to see that and not have to go out and buy a fairly expensive router bit set. But as you can see, the set that I'm using helps everything line up perfectly. I'm just doing a dry fit to make sure nothing gets skewed or moved and that all the measurements are correct. But once it's dry fit, I'm going to make some marks to cut out where just the glass is going to go. So there's some parts on the stiles that will remain. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So I'm going to make the marks where the stiles line up, and then I'm going to go over to the table saw and I'm going to cut all this out. The reason I'm doing this is because the dado that was cut with my router bit is 1/4 inch, but the acrylic glass that I'm using is a lot thinner, so it's going to slop around in there. So I've got another idea on how to make it work. So I'll set the depth of my blade, and I just cut those pieces off. The rails are easy. I'm cutting straight through and the whole piece comes off. The stiles are a little more difficult. I'm watching where my blade is going to come closest to the line where I'm trying to keep, and I'll make a mark on my fence, and then I very gingerly lower it down onto the blade. Now my fingers look closer to the blade than they are in this picture. They're really far away, and I'm going to use my push stick to move it through the saw. So it's made a cut there. Then on the back side, I'm going to do the same thing. Made marks, I lower it down, and I just push it through till I hit the next mark, and then I stop. I'm going to take this over and I'm going to hand chisel the rest of that out. Or at least I tried to hand chisel it out. What was happening is, as I was chiseling it, it was breaking away the part that I was trying to keep because it's all along the same grain line. You can see my frustration. But I remembered I have a multi-tool. This thing is great for getting into kind of awkward positions and making straight cuts. So I was able to get in there and cut those out without breaking the parts that I was trying to keep in there. You'll see that a little closer when we put the glass in. But once those pieces are out, I do still go back and use my hand chisel very carefully to neaten up those corners. Here's a couple photos just to show you what those joints look like. From there, it's time to glue up the door. I put this little scrap piece on the bottom just to hold it up. Extra set of hands while I glue the other style on. I'm going to make sure that that center rail is exactly the same measurement on both sides. Then I'm going to measure corner to corner just to make sure the whole thing is square, which it was, and give it a gentle clamping just to make sure nothing comes undone and it sits overnight. I don't peel the protective sheet off of the glass. I just pull it back from the edges a little bit and get it into that rabbet that we made. Then I'm going to take some clear silicone. This starts out white as you see it going on, but it does dry clear. And I'm very carefully making sure that it stays within the confines of the rabbet that we made. I don't want it showing outside the door. Then I made these little strips and I glue these to the stiles and the rails. They don't get glued to the glass. The clear silicone is still wet, so they're also getting pressed into that as well, so it'll help it a little bit. Then I'm going to measure up the bottom and the top of the door 3 inches. I'm going to pre-drill and I'm going to add my hinges. I've clamped it to the front just so I have a second set of hands. This door was built with a 1/2 inch overhang, so it's 1 inch bigger than the opening of the cabinet, so it leaves a 1/2 inch on either side. And I just pre-drill everything and then I put the screws in, and after that I will put a latch on. And here's our completed project. Here's the latch that we were working on at the end there. And I also have a magnet, a cabinet magnet inside. This most likely would hold the door shut just fine, but I don't know what kind of wind this area is going to have, so I just want to make sure the books are protected. So I put a latch on there, really holds the door firm. I've also put an 1.5 by 3/4 piece of leftover trim on the top here. I've cut a 5-degree bevel on the backside, so when I put it on, it'll wick the water away. It has just a little slight pitch right here to get that water off the top, and that'll just protect the top of the door from having any water come in behind it. If you get a real whipping wind, it may get a little bit of water on the edges here, but I think these books are going to be well protected. If you are inclined, you could obviously open this up, find some weather stripping and put that along the edge. I think it's overkill. We'll see. But anyway, I hope your library came out really great. I hope it gets a lot of use. As I said at the beginning of the video, I cannot wait to see what kind of use this one is going to get, how many more people it's going to inspire to read, or just the sense of community that this is going to bring of, hey, I like this book, oh, I like this book, and just the book share. But let me know in the comments how yours came out. Let me know in the comments where you're from, and also let me know what book maybe was your gateway drug to get you to start reading. And maybe I'll pick it up, maybe I haven't read it yet. So, or you'll inspire other people to read, and that'll be our own little library. But until then, thank you so much. Thank you to the over 500 people that have subscribed to this channel over the last 2 years, the last year really. I cannot appreciate you more. Keep liking, keep sharing this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. There's going to be more like this. But until I see you again, thanks so much and take care.